It's easy to tell whether what we've done bears fruit. Initial reactions can tend not to offer the best means of assessment, and it's often quite hard for us, on the other hand, to sustain sufficient interest to arrive at a longer-term assessment. Now, in the Gospel, as we've just heard, Christ spoke of the grain of wheat needing to die in order to yield a rich harvest. That gives support to the need to look to a long-term assessment of what we do. But at the same time, it also suggests that the immediate consequences of what we've done might not be so impressive or desirable. The grain of wheat has to die. It has to stop being a grain of wheat before the rich harvest can take place. Now, there's something of this dynamic in the life of St. Lawrence. Lawrence, as we know, was one of the 7 deacons of the Church of Rome who was executed on the 10th of August 258 AD, 4 days after Pope Sixtus II and his companions. Now, Lawrence had fallen foul of the persecution of the Emperor Valerian, which was a particularly severe persecution. All the bishops, priests, and deacons of the church in Rome were liable to be arrested just in virtue of being bishops, priests, or deacons. Property was confiscated, and attempts were made to force Christians to swear to false gods. Yet, in this seemingly harsh and hopeless environment, Lawrence was able to act in a way which would bear much fruit. He asked the Emperor Valerian for 3 days to gather the church's possessions together. The emperor agreed and promised clemency to Lawrence if he handed over those assets to him. The emperor's greed caught him out, however, because Lawrence used that time to give the church's property to the poor of Rome. And then he presented the poor of Rome to the emperor, telling the emperor that these were the true treasures of the church. In response, an enraged Valerian had Lawrence burnt to death, yet Lawrence would have the last laugh, so to speak. Because of St. Lawrence's witness, many pagans in Rome would become Christian, and not more than 50 years after his death, the Emperor Constantine would build a basilica on the site of Lawrence's tomb, and it would become a place of pilgrimage. Much fruit was born by Lawrence's sacrifice. What could we learn then? Well, God raises up the right people at the right time. God provided St. Lawrence in his time, and who knows who God will provide for us in our time. But one thing we can be sure, God will provide someone. Second, the good we do might not be immediately obvious to us, and even where it is, the long-term effects of our actions might be considerably more important than we realize. The things we do, the actions we perform, are at the service of a broader purpose specified by God's providence. We are all in the service of God. That's as true now as it was in St. Lawrence's time. Let's pray then that we be the best servants that we can be.